This is awkward. Just give me 1 second, people. I didn't even hear you come in. When did I change into this? The camera's randomly on. I'm magically in my FanFic Critic outfit, and there's a fanfic on my computer. I guess it's time for another episode of FanFic Critic. Hello, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. Oh, the irony. It appears that today's fanfic is a Pokemon fanfic. Didn't I just review a Pokemon fanfic a couple episodes ago? Yes, I did. Pikapoon. Oh, I really hope this fanfic isn't like Pikapoon. At this point, I should just call myself the Pokemon Fanfic Critic. See, a lot of fanfics I review have been Pokemon ones. Yeah. Well, looks like someone requested it, so I guess I have no choice but to review it. So today's fanfic in question is called Gardevoir and Gallade, True Love Story Prologue by Wave 3436. Oh yes, I remember Wave 3436. They requested Pikachu X Pikachu Redone Story, which was a fanfic that they actually wrote themselves. And if memory serves me correctly, that fanfic wasn't exactly, good. However, they admitted that the fanfic wasn't good, and they said they would improve. And it's quite clear that they're the ones who requested this story. So, maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe this fanfic will be better than Pikachu X Pikachu Redone Story. Or a Love Redone Story. Whatever it was called. There's only one way to find out, and that is to review it. So let's not waste any more time. This fanfic is rated M. It's in English. It's Hurt Comfort, and it was published back in November. Yeah. Let's get started. Gardevoir and Gallade True Love Story Prologue. In parentheses, warning, everything in this story is translated into English, so that is why these two Pokemon speak English here, so enjoy. Well, that wasn't really necessary. I mean, if this is supposed to be a fanfic solely about the Pokemon, then of course everything's going to be translated into English. How else would we understand them? Our story begins in a kingdom known as Raltieria. A kingdom with beautiful mountains, and its royalty is Gallade King named... Okay, I already noticed an error. You need a space between the colon and the word Gallant, or the name Garland. Let's continue. Garland and his wife, Queen Gardelia. The two had a daughter, Kirlia, and named her Cora. One day, while Cora was out flower picking with her friends... Why the heck do you have a colon there instead of a comma? You should have it be a comma, not a colon. I mean, it just looks weird with that colon being there. Let's continue. A male Cacnea named Eero and a female Talo named Torka. A large gang of mighty hyenas charged through the fields and invaded the kingdom, killing... Okay, here's another error for you guys to take a look at. You guys really need to be diligent when it comes to checking spelling and grammar. The error right here is that there's no space between the comma and the word killing. So it just looks really sloppy. So, like I said before, you guys need to be really diligent when you're, checking your work and make sure that the spelling and grammar is good. Let's continue. Killing most of the villagers, and many of them were captured. Cora's father entered the village with a large sword and shield in hand. Okay, they did the mistake again, but I'm not going to bother showing you guys. Ready to stop the gang. What you have done to my people is unforgivable. Okay, spoken dialogue should be in its own paragraph, not in the middle of the current paragraph. And you do not need a comma at the end of that quotation if you have an exclamation point in the quotation. said King Garland as he charged into the gang of mighty hyenas. He slashed through most of them, but became exhausted due to the damage he received from a sudden what? Why do you have it end with a comma? And technically, how you have the next part of that sentence starts, you should have had to end with a period. But even if you had to end with a period, that still doesn't make any sense. Because it says, he slashed through most of them, but became exhausted due to the damage he received from the sudden... What exactly? The leader of the mighty hyena gang approached the king. Why, said King Garland, why is your species doing this? Okay, why is there a period and then a question mark at the end of that? And then another period. I mean, take a look at this, guys. You want to know what that comes across as? That comes across as this author couldn't make up their mind what they wanted. I'll end it with a period. No, wait, I'll put in a question mark. Oh no, I'll end it with a period again. Except they didn't bother taking out the other, punctuation marks that they didn't want to use. So Wave 3436, if you are watching this, please go in and fix the mistakes I have pointed out to you. Thank you. King Garland is about to slash the leader of the mighty hyena gang, but he sees his daughter captured by the mighty hyenas. Why is there an apostrophe S for mighty hyenas? If it's supposed to be more than one of them, you do not need the apostrophe S. Daddy, help me, said Cora, trying to break free. All of a sudden, King Garland runs to save his daughter, but Cora sees something horrific in her eyes. As her father ran off to save her, the leader of the mighty hyenas, again, get rid of the apostrophe S for mighty hyenas, stabbed him straight through the chest as he falls to the ground. Okay, that just did not make any sense. The leader of the mighty hyenas tells the mighty hyenas holding Cora to release her and retreat. Let her see her father pass. It matters not to me, said the leader of the mighty hyenas as he and his gang, it begins to rain. What? Said the leader of the mighty hyenas as he and his gang, it begins to rain? It's like this person did not complete their thoughts. They start with one thought and then in the middle of a sentence they start another sentence in a sense. Cora sees her father dying on the pale ground. Dad, what's wrong? Said Cora. Okay, you shouldn't say said Cora, you should say asked Cora, and if you're going to have it be asked Cora, you should get rid of the exclamation point and change it into a question mark, saying she's asking a question. Cora, I'm sorry, I didn't want this to happen, to see what's happening to your father. I just tried to protect you since your mother was shot down, and I tried to stop them from hurting you. Cora, I love you. Garland then collapsed and died. Dad, no, please, you can't be. She sensed no life out of her father and then began to cry until she was picked up by her father, second in command, and brought back to her as the hours turned to days. It became time for her mother and father to be their bodies were being put into their graves. Cora laid down her head in shame and said everyone left. Cora approached her parents' grave and said, Mother, Father, one day I'll set things right. Well, the story started off better than Pikachu X Pachirisu Redone story, but then when you got near the middle-ish to the end, it kind of ran into the same problems that story ran into. Weird, incomplete thoughts, sentences starting in the middle of other sentences, misuse of punctuation marks, the grammar is not exactly that fantastic either. I mean, I am sorry, Wave 3436, but this story is not much of a step up from the Pikachu X Pachirisu Redone story. You really need to check your spelling and grammar before you post stuff like this on the internet. And you know, it kind of saddens me, Wave 3436. You want to know why it saddens me? Because you have your own fanfic review show where you know, review other people's fanfics for the same reason. And you're kind of coming across as a hypocrite when you're critiquing people for their fanfics and then you look at one of your stories and it's a big jumbled mess like this. Mind you, this story was written back in November of 2010, and I am hoping that if you've written any more stories since then that they've improved. But seeing this story is newer than Pikachu Part 2 Redone story and still has some issues, something tells me that your writing has not improved that much. And I'm sorry for being harsh, but if you're gonna request one of your own stories to me, don't expect me to give it a sugar-coated review. Especially if this is the second story of yours that you've requested. I've had other authors in the past who have requested stories more than once, and at least with them they have improved. This story is somewhat of an improvement, but not by a lot. Not by a lot at all. And if this is supposed to be a prologue, are you going to be adding more chapters to this? I mean, I noticed on the screen for this fanfic it says it's complete. So if you're going to do more of this fanfic, are you just going to start a completely new fanfic altogether? Or are you going to add on to this? And I really don't see how this is a love story so far, but then again, it is the prologue. I don't know. I'm sorry, but this fanfic wasn't exactly great. And it wasn't much of an improvement over the Pikachu Part 2 Redone story. That's all I can really say. And I hope that if you're watching, this will make you think long and hard about your fanfics, and hopefully you will better yourself after watching this review. If not, then so be it. Well, I'm the Fanfic Critic. I read it, you listen, and I'm getting back to my game. You can fade to black anytime now.